Welcome back, everybody, to the final stage of this candidates tournament. The time travel is approaching in the game of games. Karjakin against Caruana. Whoever wins will become Magnus Carlsen's challenger. Let's go straight to the action and see what is going on, who's better and why. We've seen quite a lot of developments after this. Rook f8, which Karjakin forced with a clever move, queen f1. Knight f4 takes, rook takes a4. We've seen all this. Bishop takes a4. Queen to d3, bishop c6. Bishop to b3, rook to g5. And Karjakin went for quite a drastic decision here, Robin.
Yeah.
The move e4, e5.
When I was suggesting the move rook to g5, which I think is logical, I did not look at this opportunity. Why playing e5? And I'm not even exactly sure about the consequences of it. e5, I can take it in several different ways. He decided to take with the rook.
Which is a logical way to take it if you can get away with it, right?
What exactly happens if I would have taken it with the pawn?
D-pawn, yeah?
Yeah.
I know, rook c4 looks scary.
Rook to c4, and after queen d5, I'm probably in all sorts of trouble. As you can just check me on f7. Rook to f7. Rook takes d5, and I see that I'm losing due to
there's
check on
rook c7 in the end.
Yeah.
Right, that's an important little line. You
Okay.
pick up the rook, so you had to, well, for now we operate on the assumption you had to take with the rook on e5.
Which happened in the game.
Rook c4, once again the point. Queen d5 probably still bad because of the same trick. Yeah.
But Jan, hold on a second. He played rook to d5, which is not a very obvious move. Is it
What
possible?
else though?
Huh? No, I don't see another move. You're in trouble otherwise. It's just that, is it possible that rook d5 was missed by Karjakin, or do you think this is still planned? Because after rook d5, queen e2, what has happened in the game, I don't directly see how white is gonna regain his pawn in this position, although it's very complicated.
I don't have the slightest clue. It's all chaos. Queen e2, queen b6, and some rook e4, then just rook e5. Huh?
Yeah, that was what Fabiano was hoping for. And looks like Karjakin has to make a very important decision here. Of course, ideally you would like to go rook takes c6 and take on d5, but rook takes d1 is check. And I guess that king b2 is not going to cut it because of queen d4 check or
Yes.
queen takes c6, both seem good enough.
Countermate.
So Karjakin to move has just sacrificed the pawn, and once again, Jan, I'm not 100% sure if it was all planned, but he went rook to h4.
And rook to e5.
Sorry, queen e2, and then rook to h4, yes.
Queen e2, queen b6, rook h4, rook e5, forced to cover e6, and queen to d3. Still a lot of activity in White's camp, but now he is a proper pawn down, so you better make something happen.
Well, the most logical move is either queen c5 or d5. And after queen c5, I'm guessing that rook to c4 will be possible again.
Is this a move repetition? Rook c4, rook d5? Are we just going back and forth in circles?
That is really, really a strange move repetition, but I believe it is. Queen to e2, queen to b6, and looks like we're actually repeating the moves indeed.
Yeah, that's a nice
So-
little triangle.
That's odd. Well, d5 is the other move, and it still seems that you're hanging on to the pawn by playing that move as well. Besides that, you're shutting out White's bishop somewhat from the game, and creating some loops for your king on d6 potentially.
By the way, just very briefly, because we want to stay with this game, all other games have ended in draws, including the game Svidler against Vishy Anand. Vishy Anand expertly defended this position, but that means that now the situation is clear. Fabiano Caruana is not going to get an assist from Vishy Anand. He has to win his game, or Karjakin is Magnus Carlsen's challenger. Therefore, yeah, move repetition is out of the question for Caruana.
Yeah, it's a must-win situation that's confirmed now, but we kind of expected this from the start.
Right.
And he's been playing as if it is a must-win situation from the very start. So no real news there for Fabiano himself, but it might add a little bit more pressure to the already very tense situation.
Another question, what about a move like bishop to d5? Can I get away with that, or is this bad?
I'm actually a little bit confused about White's position. Can I go rook to rook to d4 now, keep swinging my rook around. I would like to get a pawn back, so like bishop takes b3, queen takes b3 maybe to attack both the d pawn and the b pawn. Makes sense to me.
Right. Even here though, if I defend my b pawn,
yeah, we're going
I'm not sure you should go for this endgame.
Unless I have a bunch of checks in order to disturb black's position, like queen d3, queen a6, etc. I might be okay over here because it looks like it looks rather difficult to get out of the checks without losing at least a pawn. So maybe something like this. I still like d5, but another move has been played.
Whoa, bishop g2. What kind of move is that? He's trying to go d5 without blocking his bishop, so he wants to have his cake and eat it too.
But wow, what a move! Like that's almost like a computer move or something. I would have never thought about that. So you're saying it has to go to g2, so you prepare d5, bishop to e4.
I would guess if you go, let's say here, now you can go d5 and this bishop stays active, doesn't stay boxed in on
very
c6.
interesting. Can you just attack the bishop on g2 in some way? Like, can I go... Oh, rook d2, queen g1 check I have to take into account. But still, I could go rook d1 there, maybe.
Also, I'm wondering if there's a big difference in this line, for example, we were looking at. The rook is on d2, and it could very well be that this check is kind of awkward in some position. Not sure, it stays incredibly complicated.
Yeah, but I must say that bishop to g2 is a very remarkable move, and whether it's actually... the one thing it could very well do is confuse Karjakin.
I'm confused for sure.
I'm very confused, and if there's no direct problem with this move, it's probably exactly the type of thing that you want to find playing this on the black side. That makes white's defense, I would call it a defense, a lot more confusing.
I agree, and it also gives white a lot of choices, which is not always an ideal thing to have in time trouble, which they both are in. So bishop g2, if nothing else, won Fabi a bit of time on the clock. But Karjakin, not famed as the best defender in the business for nothing. He's played rook to d4, kind of forcing d5, but I guess that was the idea all along, to put the bishop here. Now he can win his pawn back at the very least.
Yeah.
That much we can see. He can
Most
go
likely that's what he's gonna do.
Bishop somewhere, e4 or f3, I'm not sure. Maybe f3 just to annoy this rook.
Oh, okay, I'll take rook takes b4 most likely. Once again, the endgames are still not good for white. Like you never want to go queen takes b4 in this type of position.
No. Queen c7. I don't know. The computer says equal to all this stuff, but over the board this feels incredibly tense, and it feels like one side will win this, either black with his central control or white by sort of embarrassing the black king. So Fabi got what he asked for. The question is, did he bring a knife to a gunfight? It doesn't look like it. Looks like he brought a knife to an arrow fight, which is a fair proposition, but I'm not 100% sure. This position in time travel is also very tricky to play with black because your king is so loose.
I was about to say that the bad side of Fabiano's position is that his king is actually significantly weaker than white's king. Regardless of whether the bishop on b3 is very active or not, it does do a very good job protecting that white king. And well, I'm a bit surprised with the move bishop to f3. I would go bishop e4 most likely.
Yeah, he hasn't played bishop f3. That was just
Yeah, I understand.
Bishop
to e4, rook takes b4, and queen c7, for example.
Because also in time trouble, you like to have all your pieces protected, just to avoid any accidents, and go here. As long as there's no... I would like to build some battery. I'm not sure if I'm in time to do something like this to give a bunch of checks. And it feels to me like it's easy to play with white. Hang on, he's made a move. He's played rook to e4, which, as you can see by the little engine bar, is not approved by the computer of your choice. But the reason it's not approved is the dramatic rook takes d5.
Which is not an obvious move at all, Jan. I'm not even... Like, rook takes d5, e takes d5, queen takes d5. Why am I lost after just defending against queen to d7?
Certainly needs some nerves of steel, like for a better word, to go for this with white in a must-draw situation. Like,
What
give
happens
up
if
the
queen
rook.
to c7?
I don't understand anything. Looks like you just can't defend.
Well, that is completely out of my scope. Wow. And just queen h7 on the next move, and I can't do anything.
This is
The one
big
thing.
situation. You don't have an alternative.
No, you don't have an alternative because otherwise you're just a pawn down.
Yeah. Fabi's going for broke. I'm not sure if he missed this, but this is impossible to calculate with minutes on the clock. And it's go time for Karjakin. Like, does he really have this rook d5 move in him?
Well, I would think that he's gonna go for it because after rook d3, quite frankly, it looks like a lost position. Looks like you're just a pawn down. Black has shut down your bishop on b3 and regained control over the b4 pawn. Bishop to h3.
Bishop has
and
a nice square on f5. Yeah, you
looks
gotta
like-
go for it. Then again, who can say that, yeah, after bishop h3, okay, makes some sense, but that such a position is lost, well, immediately it's winning. Makes sense because this bishop covers d7. But the amount of lines you have to calculate here, this is a very tough proposition. I still can't say I fully understand it, but some of the black pieces are overloaded. You gotta cover f7, d7, later h7.
No, I think queen to c7 would be the given move because it's protecting everything without dropping a piece. But queen takes h5 and apparently black's position falls apart.
Apparently this move is even stronger. Same threat, keeping an eye on the e4 rook. But once again, we are computer assisted if you haven't guessed that from our genius comments so far on this position.
Jan, what kind of odds would you give on white playing rook takes d5 or Karjakin playing rook takes d5?
Since everything else loses, I think you gotta go for it. Like,
Yeah.
and he has a very good sense for what kind of stuff he can get away with. I'm not sure if it's, well, he can't calculate, but if it's in his style to play this on intuition, if he had an alternative, but it looks like he hasn't. So I'd give even money.
Even money, yeah. I'm thinking whether there is an alternative like rook takes e4 and queen h6, just trying to get a pawn back somewhere on the board. Honestly, if he gets the pawn back in this position, I think that would be a lot of even very strong players would go for this in the given situation when there's so much pressure on. You do not want to play rook takes d5 and have it wrong in this specific game. But like you said, rook takes d5. Actually, it's a matter of finding 3 more moves, but those 3 more moves are very, very hard to find.
Yeah, he's certainly calculating it. Could also be that he's missed rook e4, which is far from an obvious move from afar.
Yeah.
And
actually,
that
seems...
he's done it.
Okay. Well,
whoa.
That is very impressive by Karjakin.
And yeah, obviously we've said this yesterday already, whoever wins deserves it, but if he manages to achieve his draw in this style, then he's more than earned his ticket.
I don't expect this to be a draw anymore at all, but like I said, queen to c7 looks like the only move to me. f5 also creates some loot for the king, but it just loses the queen.
And here, okay, you don't have to calculate. You understand only white can be better with this king being so weak.
Yeah.
Could be you get something like this on a draw offer. Like this stuff sometimes happens in such situations. Dang, this is probably just a straightforward win. King g7. This move with a double attack. That's sort of game over.
Yeah, and black's position
Still no
should...
checkmate. But,
Yeah, but it should fall apart in the long run simply because it's such a weak king. Wow.
Yeah, and for Fabi, with a little bit of hindsight, this is a big blunder because, yeah, bishop somewhere, bishop f3 or bishop e4 like we've looked at, rook b4, queen c7, and it's a horribly complicated position, but either side can win this.
I must say,
week.
I have the feeling it's a bit of a, like you sort of indicated, a mutual blunder because I have the feeling Karjakin didn't see rook e4, rook takes d5 from afar, probably missed rook e4 and then found this amazing resource for which he deserves all the credit. It's a very nice move.
Yeah, and he was forced towards his own luck because everything else is bad, and then it's much easier to pull the trigger on such a move. Still, after a couple minutes, once again shows that he has good nerves, that kid.
Yeah.
So now Shu is back on the other foot, and Caruana is probably not going to be very happy. Queen c7, yeah, is the move you normally play. Just trying to keep everything protected. But then queen, yeah, one of these squares. This seems the most devastating, and you just can't protect your king.
What an amazing finish if this is going to happen. Queen c7, queen f5. I think queen takes h5 is still slightly more logical. But amazing idea.
Now the difference is queen f5 stops rook e6, which here you can still play.
Yeah, but you could take and play queen e2 check,
yeah,
right?
it's bad.
Yeah, it doesn't... It's not too hard to find this after you found rook takes d5.
No,
and Fabiano now probably shaking his head deep down inside, like
maybe even outwardly, but no, he's not prone to displays of big emotion over the board. I think also he's just calculating, trying to find a way here. But yeah, it could be very well. These guys are amazing calculators, so I'm sure it's sinking in very quickly with Fabiano that he doesn't really have a defense here. The best move, by the way, as sad as it might sound, and this is of course 100% computer stuff, is rook to d4. Returning a whole rook for the honor of exchanging queens, and then you can defend a pretty terrible endgame pawn down with 3 isolated pawns, which should be lost in the long run, but objectively you would have to go here. However, needing a win only, this is not the most exciting prospect.
This is not going to be played, I don't think.
What else can you do? This is mate in 1, so you have to stop it. Queen e6, just lose the queen. Okay, queen b7 is even faster.
And bishop a4 with the mate. Is there any move that he could come up with here?
Rook e6 is checkmate on 1. Rook d8 is checkmate here. No, it's very limited choice. Okay. This move is probably best, but you can't do that. So queen c7 is what you would do. And then, yeah, queen f5 or queen h5 are both devastating. Queen h5. Threatening this move, and there's surprisingly nothing you can do about it.
Yeah.
You can, maybe you can try something like this, and you're not immediately mated, but the black position just falls apart. Here, bishop d5, but there's many winning moves, surprisingly, like queen a7 threatening bishop a4 is game over.
It's actually a very nice move, queen a7.
And also, practically, since Karjakin only needs a draw, you have a perpetual wherever you want one.
Which could very well happen, by the way. Something like this I could see.
Also possible, yeah.
Could see happening. Queen c7, by the way, is on the board.
Yeah, what else?
Well, like I said, Jan, I saw queen c7 as soon as rook takes d5 appeared, and it's really not obvious that this is losing. What an amazing resource. The only explanation that these kind of things work is, once again, what we were pointing out earlier. When one side has a very safe king, and in this case it's really because of the bishop on b3, when white has such a safe king and black's king is out in the open, sometimes these amazing resources playing on with a full rook down are just available, and yeah, it seems to be very little hope here for Fabiano. Both queen f5 and queen takes h5 should be winning.
Yeah.
And one of those two will
be played, right? That's the idea. Didn't give a rook for nothing. This is move, well, now it's the 39th move coming up, so the time control will also be achieved, because after queen h5 or queen f5, your next move is going to be very easy. It's not like you have to make some hellish decisions anymore.
It's that's another very convenient thing for Sergey over here, that he has to make 2 more tough moves, but after that he can take some time, and really he will probably realize exactly what's going on. If he doesn't do it already, probably whilst Fabiano has been thinking, he understood that this is really, really good for white.
No, I think both guys understood it. I'm not sure what he's thinking about. Maybe it is already subtleties like queen f5 or queen to h5. But it looks like this is done.
This is done.
Karjakin is going to win this candidates tournament and play a match against Magnus Carlsen. Get used to it, people.
Yeah. No, to me, the only question that remains is whether Sergey is going to go for a draw with queen h7, queen g6 or something like that, or whether he's going to actually win the game, which, you know, if he has time after move 40 and he has to only find 2-3 more precise moves, he might very well do that as well and just win it without even tying with Fabiano in the standings.
Also, yeah, you pick up some rating. It's a better storyline if he wins alone on +3.
Absolutely.
So I believe if he sees a clear win, he will and should go for it.
Yeah.
And for Fabiano, of course, it makes very little difference, but still, I would expect him to go for the win. Because also, let's say you get this, which is quite likely.
Oh, he will grind this one out, that's for sure.
Here, you don't give a draw, right?
Yeah, no.
You're 2 pawns up. Also, the question is, would Fabiano not resign in such a scenario? I mean, he knows he can't win that.
Yeah, I mean, in a normal game, you would most likely resign it, so I think he would resign it in that case as well.
We'll see what happens. We're still not there. We haven't seen Karjakin make a move, and there is still 2 moves to play till the time control. Crazy things have happened before, but here I also don't see an alternative to either of these squares. You don't want to move the rook, you don't want to move the bishop, you want to move your queen, and okay, it only has 2 logical squares.
Yeah, another detail is that after queen f5, rook f7, you can just take it, and black can't recapture on f7. And queen h7 is dropping the queen. So, because that would be the only potential drawback of queen f5, but also that is not a valid resource for black.
Not an issue. Yeah, see, no logical reason for blundering.
Yeah.
Something like this. There is just no way it could happen.
No, at this point he's just considering which one is more effective.
Yeah,
and
he's
queen
played
f5.
queen f5.
Very
which
impressive.
Is the strongest move as well.
Oh, this is very impressive. I did not expect this, but yeah, he found an amazing chance, and especially queen f5 now. It's the very, very strongest continuation under such immense pressure. It's nothing but respect for Sergey.
Yeah, queen c6 looks like the move that's likely to be played. Stepping out of this threat of picking the queen up. Then queen h7, king e8. We've looked at this. White has a perpetual, but he also has a number of wins. And the beautiful thing is this would be move 41 for Sergey, so he can take all the time in the world to figure it out. For starters, you can pick up this pawn with check, which is always nice to do. Then go back here, and then weigh your options. One way, for example, is this. This looks a little complicated, so I'm not sure if you want to do this.
I'm a big fan of that queen a7 idea you pointed out earlier. I think that one is actually once you spot it, because there's no way to defend against bishop a4, and it's basically a mating check if you move your queen now or something like that. It seems very effective.
Yeah, you have to see maybe one line like this. But it's not that hard for these guys with an hour to think. And also, everything wins, so it is really a pleasant choice. Apart from the fact that he is a perpetual, but it always feels like, the position is too good for giving the perpetual.
Yeah.
Are there any other wins? Bishop d5 here is not a good idea because of takes,
and check.
And this, but okay, he's not gonna do that. He can go for this. Oops, sorry. Whatever here, but this feels a little more
this is
loose, and you're relying on some geometrical tricks.
Yeah.
Even though it's no surprise that black has lost here, since we always have this check whenever we need it. But this queen a7, should he spot it, I think he's going to go for it, else he can go for the perpetual.
Yeah, the perpetual is there, so he has a very, very pleasant choice. If he were to make this decision on move 38, 37, he would probably go, I would go for the perpetual, but once again, he will have time added to his clock, and he can decide between several very nice looking options.
Yeah, he's gonna win. While we're waiting for Caruana to make a move, let's very briefly update you on the other games. Anish Giri made his 14th draw in the tournament. He did it against Vesely Topalov. He's not going to be happy, but today he didn't really get very far.
No.
And his one chance to maybe at least make it more interesting was to go g5 immediately. Instead, this move rook g1 was a crucial loss of tempo. And here, Topalov could even have pushed him a little bit further, I believe, with stuff like this.
Yeah,
Topalov
I think Veselin was
is
also
happy to
quite
go home.
eager to to leave and to have this tournament over with, but not a very impressive game by Anish, unfortunately, and he remains on just draws.
Yeah. Svidler against Vishy. Yeah, I've seen this countless times with Vishy. He gets a position that to us mortals looks fairly unpleasant. And then 3 moves later, he's neutralized everything. The game ends in a draw here. Knight d5, f5, gf, knight f6. And probably Svidler did something wrong somewhere. Or maybe he just doesn't have the strength left to continue here either.
Yeah.
The game just ended peacefully. I guess White can continue here. I'm not sure how big his chances for success are, but like, yeah, bishop f3, king g2.
Yeah,
All
on
these
the
two.
other hand, yeah, his pawn structure is a little damaged. It's probably not really too big of a deal anymore. And again, Vishy plays very precise once he has an endgame like this. So
Yeah,
it was not really a big surprise.
So let's go back to our main game where some moves have been made and it does not look good. For Caruana, he's given the rook with rook f7. He's also trying to avoid perpetuals, but now he's just serious material down and his king is still very weak. So the end is near, and in fact, there is a forced mate if you want one. This seems to be on the board, rook d7, king f8,
Rook d8
rook
now.
d8 check has been played, king takes f7, does not really work because of some more nice geometry.
Yep,
Checkmate.
it's a pretty finish.
So yeah, it's over. King e7, queen d7, king g7, queen g6. This
And
is the end.
I think we're about to see Fabiano. Well, is he gonna play it out till mate, or is he just gonna resign? That's the last
I
question.
think he's gonna resign. Like,
Most likely.
maybe you take here and resign after queen h7. Then again, every other move is bad for white, so you can be fairly certain that this has been spotted by Sergei Karjakin, who once again shows no nerves in this situation. Like,
Fantastic.
the game was very back and forth. We could argue about some details, but overall, high-level game by both guys. Then a queen d2, Fabiano went for rook e4, which looks very clever, but ran to rook d5 winning. He has resigned.
Okay, well that puts an end to the Candidates Tournament 2016. Congratulations to Sergei Karjakin, a really fantastic combination today, and just an amazing performance by him. Incredible nerves, like you said, Jan. I'm well. I said it before. If you win the World Cup and then you win the Candidates, just like Galfan did it when he faced Anand, you just fully deserve it.
Of course.
He's on track of some very impressive performances, and he will be Magnus Carlsen's challenger in the next World Championship match.
The two child prodigies. There's been a lot of talk about Carlsen versus Karjakin for literally 15 years now. And they are facing off in a World Championship match. Yeah, we will see how it goes, but right now all we can do is congratulate Sergei Karjakin on a very impressive performance indeed, winning this Candidates Tournament alone with +3. I'm trying to bring up the final standings. Hopefully we'll have them in a while, but okay, let's look at the standings before the round and figure them out from there. We see Karjakin won his game, scored 8.5 points out of 14. Caruana lost, so 7.5 out of 14. Vishy Anand, 7.5 out of 14. Everybody else drew, so everybody else stays on 50%. Svidler 50%, Giri 50%, Aronia 50%, Nakamura 50%, and Topalov -5, the only player with a minus score. Lot of action in this final round. I don't think we can fault Fabi for the way he approached this game at all.
Absolutely not. And also even the mistake he's made is just, it's seeing rook takes d5, like his thought process was very logical. He thought Sergey missed rook e4, which may have been the case. We don't know. Probably we are going to find out. Went for it, thought he would be a pawn up, and rook takes d5 was just such a shocking resource for white, after which black's defense falls apart. So really Fabiano did a great job creating play, creating some chaos. Chose a risky opening, got away with it. He did everything right, and that's part of the game, Jan. When you take a risk, then sometimes you're gonna lose. And unfortunately for Fabiano, he lost this very important game.
Yeah, I think he understands that, and he knew there was a lot of risk to it, but it's still the correct approach instead of
Absolutely, yeah.
playing something solid and not getting anywhere, making a draw. The tiebreak situation was not in his favor, but the players know the rules, so you play accordingly. And yeah, it really comes down to this moment, the whole candidates in a way, because here if you play bishop e4 or bishop f3, absolutely anything can still happen.
Yeah. No, it's a very tense position. But once again, rook to e4 looks like it's a good move for black, a very good move. But yeah, beautiful resource.
Okay, let's do a little recap of today's round. Starting with the game, Nakamura against Aronian, where it was an interesting back and forth in the opening. Both sides playing all these waiting moves to get to this position. 1 second. Let's look at them. Here they are. After e5 castles, we had the feeling that e4 was the more principled move here in a way, when the position remains very, very complex after knight e1. Could be that this is bad for black and both players understood that. Instead,
bishop to d7 was played, but also this doesn't feel fully correct for black. So if you have to play bishop d7, I think you can conclude that probably white has done something correct in the opening, something right. But soon after this, probably Nakamura played a little bit too enterprising, too fast with f4, when e4 seems to have a little bit more potential for white getting the advantage, preparing f4 for the next move. Because here bishop to f5 was actually allowed, which turned out to be a very good move on Aronian's part. It means that he's going to sacrifice the pawn on b7, as happened in the game. But he defended, or actually he played very actively after this and managed to get a draw out of this fairly easily. Perhaps there was a little bit more problems for Nakamura to post, but overall it seemed to be a very good game by Aronian.
And the key move being this bishop b4, getting his pawn back, after which there is really not much to talk about anymore. Solid game by Levan Aronian. Still disappointing event for him, because once again he did not qualify after a pretty good start. +2, he was on the shared lead, very much in contention, but then things went wrong and he ended the event on 50%, like a lot of the other guys. Be right back.
And then we had the last game of the day, which was already discussed. Anish briefly, Sweetler against Anand.
Yeah, for Anish. Okay, quite opening. Then again, yeah, this is not playing for a draw. This is playing for an advantage in his style. And he might have gotten a tiny advantage. After e5, he went for this ambitious move with f5, else it's hard to make anything work. But yeah, the critical moment was around here. You like this sick idea with takes rook h6, which might have been interesting.
Yeah.
But I thought even here, if he pushes one move earlier, then somehow he can build up an interesting position, maybe some pressure.
Yep.
But for weird reasons, he wasted a move with rook g1. After that, he had to consider himself quite lucky to get away with a draw. Because Topalov wanted to go home, understandably. As for Topalov, just a nightmare tournament. Nothing seemed to go right. But also his preparation pre-tournament. I'm not sure what happened pre-tournament, but it didn't look impressive what he had to show.
It's questionable how much effort was put into the preparation. He struggled quite a bit here and there in the openings too. But most of all, I think he was just not in very good shape, and he struggled in many games where he had decent positions at one point.
Absolutely. Then our friend Peter Svidler today against Vishy Anand. Yeah, not the most spectacular game. However, I applaud Svidler for actually trying to make something happen because neither of them could win the tournament. So as I said, Berlin and a quick draw would not have been totally unexpected. Instead, Svidler went for this slightly strange maneuver. Got nothing out of the opening. Then Vishy retreated a little bit too much, maybe with 97 and bishop d6. Here was a little better, but Vishy defended this.
Yeah, Vishy. The game never went fully out of balance, I would say, and the draw was kind of the expected result all along. But later on, Peter allowed this idea with bishop f5 or bishop d5 as in the game by playing f4 a little bit too quickly, and that sort of drove the game to a very quick draw.
So what do you think about both Vishy's and Peter's performance?
I think Vishy played very well. Of course, he had those two bad losses in the English, which were maybe a bit unnecessary because they were both very much opening related, which is new to me when I'm looking at Vishy's chess. Normally the opening is his strength. But overall, he managed to squeeze a win out of some very, very small advantages, especially the Berlin game against Karjakin stands out for me as being, well, fairly equal for a long time, and he managed to pull that one off, which was very impressive. So I think Vishy showed that he still belongs out there in the world top, and never write Vishy off once again. He's a great player. He still plays very, very good chess, and he's in the top of the final standings for a good reason.
Absolutely. Yeah, as for Peter, close but not close enough. He had so many very good positions, especially in the first half of the tournament. His preparation was working, was really pushing everybody with both colors. Like in the very first round, he had a slightly better endgame against Karjakin, which ended in a quick draw. Then he had an arguably winning endgame with black against Nakamura, ended in a draw, better endgame against Aronian, ended in a draw, winning endgame against Caruana, ended in a draw, and so on and so forth. So the chances were there. I don't think he can complain that much about his final score. You could argue he was on the defensive end in his last games. Yesterday against Caruana, against Levon Aronian, he got a full point out of a bad position and so on. But yeah, very close. Svidler showed that if he catches one or two breaks, he's capable of winning such a tournament, but not quite. And yeah, big part was his lacking conversion of advantages.
Yeah, quite similar to, I think, my friend Anish's problem, who also had several very promising positions, but as we all know, didn't manage to squeeze out a single win. I think both of these players faced similar issues, especially in conversion. Anish also had a very good position against Nakamura, probably just winning, and that went downhill very quickly because of a blunder. And numerous other positions that were very promising that he managed to not really play to their very best. So overall, I think a disappointing performance for Anish as well.
And disappointing for us here at Chess24, because he didn't win a game. That means the Anish promotion will continue. He's going to play in Norway Chess.
Yeah.
Anish, we expect you to win their first round.
Yeah.
Let's get rid of this. Let's see if we can, instead of the Giri promo, bring up the final table of the whole tournament. Here we do have the final standings. As already mentioned, 7 out of 8 players on 50% or better. You don't see that every day. In fact, I'm not a big chess historian. I'm not sure this has ever happened.
It's very odd to have only one guy really being taken apart, and most of these players are not even losing rating. It's just Topalov who took all the hits pretty much. Of course, there were a lot of wins exchanged among the other players as well, but the final standings turned out to be rather strange, I would say. But yeah, it was a very close tournament. Once again, actually, some of the players who missed out on winning against Topalov, especially Caruana comes to mind, probably regret that a lot in hindsight. But yeah, it was a very close race. Karjakin, in the end, a full point ahead of the competition. Very impressive result.
Yeah, that doesn't quite illustrate how it went, because yeah, today Caruana was of course, taking great risks to defeat him with black because of the tiebreak situation. Then again, Karjakin, I'm always impressed with this guy's ability not only to defend, but also not to get nervous in crucial situations. Like here, he lost his game to Vishy, which normally can affect you quite a bit. He fell down to +1, dropped out of the lead. But then next round he won Topalov, admittedly with some help from Topalov. But today, he didn't crumble under the pressure because Fabi put pressure.
Yeah.
And when it counted, he did find this move. Rook takes d5, which really decided the tournament.
Yep.
Let's continue studying the table for a minute. Yeah, we've talked about these guys. Fabiano, this +1 score doesn't reflect it, but I think he also played a good tournament.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think both of these guys maybe could have had more points, but especially Fabiano is going to look back somewhat disappointed, I think. I mean, he had several chances of making some more out of the games. On the other hand, he showed incredible resilience in some of the games, defending very bad positions, like you said, against Fiddler and so on.
Against Anish, he survived some very tough ones.
Yeah, he survived some very tough ones. Still, I think Fabiano was really in it for the win. So anything else than that is not going to, see him go back home fully satisfied. But he did show everyone that he is capable of winning a tournament like this. He came very close, and I think everyone will agree if I say that Fabiano will be a top contender for many more years to come.
Oh, this guy, like 23?
He's 2 years older than me, 23 years old only, yeah.
He's got a lot of time, and I feel he's getting stronger. His rating doesn't reflect it, and people are measuring him against the St. Louis performance. But he's getting more complete. He's willing to take risks. He can play all kinds of openings.
He's becoming a lot more universal with his openings, that's correct. And he starts reminding me a little bit of, or actually, he starts looking like Magnus in the sense that, today he's playing this Sicilian Rouser. He played the Benoni this tournament, and also Magnus we see experimenting a lot in the recent tournaments. So both of these guys are really not scared going for openings that might not be their most familiar weapons, but I think that's a very good trend to see in the top chess. Just being able to play pretty much anything and try to go for your opponent's weaknesses.
It also requires a tremendous amount of work. This line today, which he's never played, to know all the subtleties. He has h6, b5, which he explained. Then to handle this position quite well. It's not easy. You never see the work put in behind the scenes. These guys work like maniacs. Then, I think we've talked about most players. Levon's going to be disappointed, especially after the end. Nakamura was a bad tournament for him, but the final score doesn't really show us that. He has 50% like everybody else, half a point behind Caruana, which is crazy if you see where they're coming from.
Exactly, yeah.
But Nakamura, a good finish, feasted on the older guys, his favorite client, Vishy and Topalov. And 50% for him. He's going to chalk it up as a learning experience and be back next time.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the only guy who was really out of shape was Vesselin. Everybody else, maybe except for Hikaru, is going to look back at the missed chances. Vishy, Fabiano, Svidler, Aronian, Giri. All of them, with 1 or 2 breaks, could have won that tournament.
Absolutely, yeah. It was very close. Hikaru, indeed, I think he's very happy to finish on 50%. He was considered to be one of the favorites at the very start, but after dropping down to -2, getting those last wins in at the very end is a very good finish for him. And like you said, it's a learning experience for him. I suppose it's the first time for him in the candidates, so there's no real rush for him, but of course he's very ambitious, and I'm sure that also him we're going to see back in the candidates next in 2 years. It is, right?
I guess in 2 years. Yeah. So I believe that is all we had to say. The tournament is over. Congratulations to the winner, Sergei Karjakin, the challenger for Magnus Carlsen in the World Championship match, which will be played, I don't know, this end of this year, October, November, in New York City.
In New York City, yes.
So we got that one to look forward to. Thank you guys for watching the show. Apologies for the occasional technical hiccups, for the occasional bad jokes, bad hair days. Thanks a lot, Robin van Kampen, for joining us the last couple of days. It's been fun.
Thank you, Gusti. It was a lot of fun. I hope everyone enjoyed watching the last 3 rounds when I was here. It was a very exciting round, last round and round-up of the tournament. And we hope to see some more action of all of these guys before the actual World Championship match is going to take place. You will be in Norway, and we'll see several familiar faces from this event there. So there's lots more chess to come, but this was one of the most exciting events and most important events of the year. And that's it.
Sid, any plugs? You want people to follow you on Twitter?
Yeah, I would suggest everyone to follow Jan Gustafsson on Twitter. His life, his meaning, everything is pretty much related to the amount of followers he has. So please do follow him if you haven't already. Otherwise, do you have Instagram, maybe Facebook, anything where you can find Jan Gustafsson? Just like it, follow it.
No, I only care about Twitter.
Okay, well, Twitter it
and
is.
YouTube.
Gustafsson, drop a few comments on his YouTube videos. He finds that important as well.
No, that's not true.
A few likes. Those YouTube likes are definitely interesting as well. So give this guy some credit for all the great work he puts in on Chess24. And we'll see you in action pretty soon as well, right?
Actually, I thought you could plug your own stuff, but it's even better if you plug me. So thanks a lot for that. Follow us on Twitter. We really need the followers. Lawrence Trent still has more than me. Which is this your Twitter handle? Probably no spaces.
GM Robin, yeah, something like that. I think, yeah.
Chess Grandmasters, we feel it's very important to add the GM to every name we have out there because that's really the only achievement. I'm not going to get any doctor titles. You might. You're still young. But GM is all we got. Thanks a lot for watching the candidates. It's been exciting. We'll be back soon.
Someday.
I'll be back with Norway Chess. I'm going on holidays. I'm going to Thailand. I'm going to play the Bangkok Open. Robin is going back to study, but look forward to Robin's new video series coming out on Chess24.
Yeah, new things are going to come out. Keep track of that, and you guys will see me back at some point.
Embrace the night, people.